It's a rainy, dreary day, which typically I like, but it matches my current mental state too much, I think. And I woke up so much last night, though I was able to keep falling back to sleep in um for about an hour before waking up again. It truly may have been 5 times when I woke up. Um, just normal nasty withdrawal stuff hitting your sleep. I took a GABA supplement, which definitely helps. It makes a difference. I've heard for years that GABA supplements are pointless. They don't cross into the brain, but very clearly that's not true because not only does it help with sleep significantly, my dreams are incredibly more vivid each of the 2 times I've tried this, so I highly doubt that's placebo. I do believe it does something. Anyways, I've been going through a lot of stuff, pushing myself with numerous things, and definitely mentally, you feel a ton of weight of any form of mistakeness or remorse, truly going back as far as you want. And it made me think there's been a lot of extreme events I've experienced throughout my life. Um, and often I've been recommended therapy, and the only time I truly considered that, well, no, that's not true. But let me put it this way. When I was 18 or 19 and was truly dying, we ended up at 84 pounds, wasting away from severe Crohn's disease before they removed my colon completely. I would never in a million years consider therapy. That would have been so outside my conception of myself. And so when there has been problems, like when I had that emergency surgery, an emergency surgery that triggered this PTSD, unfortunately, in my brain, it seems. And recent times, when even my father, a classic New Yorker, recommended therapy because of the things that I'd been through, just speaking for me, and also the fact that I was in so much pain. I was often just cycling somewhat manically, you could say, repeating the same thing over and over, which I suppose is good a indication that you need to talk to someone as it gets. That being said, so there's a lot of things that I would never have imagined back at 18, 19. Thankfully, I'm quite different. So it makes me wonder again, am I being just too recalcitrant against therapy? And maybe, but the problem I have with these things is it represents a fundamental illness we have within the culture, where whenever I've been tolerant towards any of these more new agey type things, I pretty much always ended up worse, or felt like I was putting on a persona to an extent. Uh, Lying, kind of going along with the crowd. If if that makes sense. So I'm not opposed to therapy with the right therapist, but I think in general it's a there's a it seems there's a new obsession with therapy. Um, it's dramatically increasing, and it certainly can talking things out, especially particularly traumatic things, is an element that needs to be seen. And but it goes back to, if I have chronic illness and I have bladder infections every 2 weeks that are extremely painful, and half the day or more, I feel like the urge to urinate, truly, that feels like I've been holding it in for 3 hours, in addition to the pain, is and you can't work, etc. Oh, you need therapy for that. Oh, you're depressed. I completely disagree with that. Everything is everything is going wrong with my life. Not everything, but many foundational things. That's not depression. I've written about this before, right? So getting back to therapy, if your life is not in order, that needs to be come first, or at least synergistically with talking to someone. And also, an aside, a lot of times the best, a superior therapist would be family and friends. And I understand a lot of people don't have that, and speaking out with them can actually make things worse. So again, I'm not a good therapist. It can be very valuable, and we are lucky that we are in an age where we have that luxury. But there's also something to be said for just living out your pain and suffering, particularly if you know part of your mental neurosis is due to your own miscomings as a person, right? Like, which is every single person, at least partially. There's dramatic levels, but sometimes therapy, I think, instead of going to a therapist who would say, "Oh, this was reasonable," "Oh, this and that," as opposed to that, kind of just accepting that what you did was wrong, or in pushing yourself to be stronger and different, and feeling the pain that comes with both acknowledging the weakness within you, which again is within every human. That's why development is so essential, in saying that you're good the way you are is such horrible advice. I mean, it's half true. And that's the thing with therapy. A lot, maybe not even half, but it's like maybe that's 30%. It is some of the things you want in therapy, but there's many forms of therapy, and people got along quite well before the advent of that even existed. I know I'm a little bit all over the place. I'm trying to fix this in my head because, like I said, I'm so dubious of, like, let me give you an example. Like, I know it's a bit old now, but Tony Robbins, massive figure. Not really my generation, but I read his second book in particular. You know, he's a self-help guru type, and half of it honestly reads like satire, right? And this is kind of the essence of this new agey stuff and self-development stuff. Is like you're reading all these books, you're doing all this therapy, and oh, you're good this way and this, when really the best therapy would be acknowledging suffering, and practicing virtue. So that's a much more nuanced take on why I'm dubious, rather than say the hyper masculine, oh, I don't need to talk to anyone, I'm completely independent, I'm a lone wolf type of thing back when you were 18, which is far too extreme, and eventually uh, holding things like that just breeds um, bad things. Uh, Perhaps so one must get past that through wisdom and maturity. But as always, then there's the risk going way too far the other way. So I'm really just gonna make it through this week, and hoping that next week will be a bit easier. I'm not sure of that, but I think so. Like I said in previous videos, it's rough, but it's not masochistic. Like, I have this weird itching all over my body. I don't like that. Restless legs. Um, you know, emotional things and such, but it's not. It's very doable. The significant cognitive issues. That's why I've been focusing on nootropics, which have helped make things somewhat tolerable, because otherwise you're just laying in bed miserable. At least I can do things, though it seems like doing things just does not produce, like, it produces such a tiny level of dopamine as compared to a more normal mental environment. And a lot of that is due to the opioid withdrawal, because that alone is quite nasty to deal with. Going into the second or third week with how long I've been on these on and off, not my brain never having time to recover. So that alone, then when you combine it with another form of withdrawal, it's not surprising, that's for sure. But I'm just gonna hope it gets a bit better, and to kind of put everything together, use this time to just accept the pain, and it does feel therapeutic to accept this pain and suffering, and that's what I would prefer, at least right now, rather than say talking to someone. I'm kind of in this visceral stage where body and soul both heal, and often, and as the case in pretty much any endeavor, the beginnings are the most difficult in regards to visceral suffering. There are other stages that come later that have the different problems that one must keep in mind. But that's where I'm at right now. Much love.